Right now, the world is $300 trillion in debt. If you tried to pay that off at a rate of $1 every single second, it would take you 9 million years. But here is the paradox that should terrify you. If every country on Earth is in debt, then who exactly is the money owed to? The answer isn't a bank or a country or even a shadowy elite. It's actually much worse than that. You are living inside a machine designed to turn your human time into their financial interest. And in 2024, that machine just hit its limit. We have spent the last month synthesizing 300 years of financial history. We have tracked everything from the secret meetings on Jekyll Island to the soft default policies currently being written in real time by the US Treasury. We are not here to give you a conspiracy theory. We are here to give you the math that they hope you never calculate. Because once you understand how the system was designed, you realize that $38 trillion isn't a problem to be solved. It is the system working exactly as intended. To understand the trap, you have to meet the architects. It started in 1694 with a man named William Paterson. England was broke from war, and Paterson proposed a revolutionary deal to King William III. He would organize a group of wealthy merchants to lend the government £1.2 million. But here was the twist. The loan would never be repaid. Instead, the government would pay interest forever, backed by the power to tax the citizens. This was the birth of the Bank of England and the moment national debt became permanent. Within a century, the Rothschild family industrialized this model. They didn't just lend to one king. They built a network across Europe, ensuring that debt was so interconnected that a default by one nation would collapse the entire international financial web. This made debt inescapable. If a government refused to pay, they weren't just stiffing one lender, they were triggering a systemic collapse. By 1815, the debt trap was no longer just permanent, it was global. But the most significant theft happened on August 15, 1971. American families were sitting down for their favorite TV shows when Richard Nixon interrupted with an announcement that would change the world forever. He suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. In that one moment, money stopped being a treasure you could hold and became what we call fiat currency. It was no longer backed by anything physical, only by government decree. Think of it like country fair tickets. Inside the fair, they are as valuable as cash because the authority requires you to use them. Outside the fair, they are just worthless strips of paper. Nixon's innovation was making the entire world America's fair. This allowed the government to create money at will. Debt was no longer a burden to be cleared. It became the engine that fueled the entire global economy. Every new dollar in your pocket today is literally backed by someone else's debt. There is no such thing as debt-free money in this system. So, back to our opening question, who do we actually owe? When you look at the United States, roughly 70% of that $38 trillion debt is actually owed to us. It is held by our own banks, our pension funds, our insurance companies, and our Social Security trust funds. The government is essentially borrowing from your future retirement to pay for its current spending. It is a circular lie. They tell you it's an investment, but look at the math in 2024. The math has changed. For the first time in history, the US government is spending more on interest payments than it is on national defense. We are spending more to pay off the bondholders of the past than we are to equip the military of the present. We are in what economists call a debt spiral. In a normal household, you would cut spending, but a government is not a household. Social Security and Medicare are promises that cannot be broken without political suicide. So instead, the government issues new debt just to pay the interest on the old debt. It is borrowing from a new credit card to pay the minimum balance on the old one. This leads us to the silent erasure. Since they can't pay the debt back and they won't default explicitly, they choose the path of least resistance, the soft default. They pay back every cent, but they pay it in currency that is worth significantly less than when they borrowed it. They inflate the debt away. If the government owes $30 trillion and inflation is 5%, the real value of that debt shrinks by $1.5 trillion in a single year. No new taxes were raised, but your groceries suddenly cost 50% more. They use 3 specific tools to ensure you don't notice the theft. Tool number 1 is the captive buyer. Regulations now force banks and pension funds to hold government bonds, even if they are losing value. Your retirement fund isn't buying debt because it's a good investment. It's buying it because it's essentially against the law not to. Tool number 2 is the broken compass of the CPI. The government has a multi-billion-dollar incentive to keep official inflation numbers low. They use substitution bias, telling you that if steak gets too expensive and you buy hamburger instead, your cost of living hasn't actually gone up. It's statistical gaslighting. Tool number 3 is fiscal dominance. Historically, the Federal Reserve was independent. Today, it is an enabler. It cannot raise interest rates high enough to kill inflation because doing so would immediately bankrupt the US government. The interest payments would exceed all tax revenue. So the Fed is forced to keep rates low and let inflation run hot. They are betting they can inflate away the debt faster than the public can panic. But here is the blue ocean truth that almost no one is talking about. This isn't just a financial crisis, it is a time crisis. Debt, by definition, is a claim on future labor. That $300 trillion in global debt represents hundreds of billions of human life hours that have already been spent by previous generations. You are working 40 hours a week today to pay off the promises made by politicians 30 years ago. We are currently in a state of time bankruptcy. And now we see the AI productivity paradox entering the frame. While some hope AI will create enough growth to outrun this debt, history suggests the opposite. This is the Cantillon effect. When new money is printed, it doesn't drop from helicopters. It enters through the financial sector. The asset-owning class gets the money first before prices rise. By the time it trickles down to your wages, the inflation has already eaten your purchasing power. AI is likely to accelerate this, enriching the owners of the technology while the wage earners are left paying off the $300 trillion bill with devalued hours. So where does this end? It ends with the ultimate tool of control, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Right now, physical cash is your only exit. You can take your money out of the bank and hide it under your mattress. A CBDC removes that exit. It gives the state total control to implement negative interest rates or even put expiry dates on your money to force you to spend. The transition to a cashless society is not about convenience. It is about ensuring there is no escape valve when the great wealth transfer accelerates. The system isn't broken. It's working perfectly. The American dream of saving your way to prosperity is dead because the safe option, saving cash, is being deliberately destroyed. We have entered the era of asset survival. The only way to opt out of this machine is to own scarce assets that the government cannot print and central banks cannot code. We are talking about things that represent scarce time: real estate, gold, Bitcoin, or productive businesses. While the world owes $300 trillion, the planet actually holds about $1 quadrillion in total assets. The wealth exists, it just isn't in the currency. The planet's net worth is technically $700 trillion, but that value is concentrated in things you can't print. You have a choice to make. You can continue to trade your limited time for a currency designed to lose value, or you can start trading that currency for assets that preserve your time. The $300 trillion lie is the belief that this debt will ever be paid back. It won't. It will be inflated, restructured, and managed until the end of time. Stop measuring your progress in dollars and start measuring it in assets and hours. Because in the game of asset survival, those who trust the institutions lose their future, and those who understand the math reclaim their time. The machine is at its limit. Now you know how it works. The question is, what are you going to do about it?